Great. Well, thank you everybody for joining us and a warm welcome, not only to our panel that we're going to be talking to today, but everybody who's joined us to help learn and pick their brains. This is now, I think, the fifth leader enablement session we've had. And so really, really grateful to be here. But a special warm welcome to our live panel. So I'll start by introducing Ida Filipina. Ida is the National Customer Service Manager in Food. Ida, if I could just ask you to pop on and say a quick hi, and we'll introduce everybody before we kick off.
Afternoon, all. It's a privilege to be here, and I'm looking forward to what will unfold in this session.
Great. Tell us where you're based, Ida.
So I'm based in the Queensland site over at Crestmead. I've been with Metcash for 6.5 years. Started off as a customer service team member and have been lucky enough to be given the opportunity to work my way through, and I'm now the customer service manager.
Great, thank you. Next, Paul, we'll throw to you. If you can say hi, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Christina. I'm very glad to be here to start with. My name, I'm the General Manager of the Hudson Group, which is a Mitre 10 group of stores. We've got 14 across New South Wales, and I've been in the business 10 years, and it's sort of been a bit of a journey on amalgamating groups together and working together. And I think that's where sort of we've had a lot of experience in having to grapple with engagement over the years, and I think it's sort of put us in good stead moving forward.
Great, thank you. Michelle, I'm going to hand over to you, and I might have to say Michelle P and then Michelle W because we've got two Michelles on the panel today. So, Michelle Pellizzari, over to you.
Thank you, Christina. So, hi everyone, Michelle Pellizzari. I am the Sales and Operations Manager out here in New South Wales and currently acting as the State GM with Jason McLean's move to hardware. So, have a team of about 30 out here in the state in the sales and operations team, ranging from our area sales managers to our fresh specialists to our retail implementation team. And I've been out here at Huntingwood in the food business for the last 2 years, and prior to that in our support office in Macquarie Park in our retail channels team.
Great, welcome. And last but not least on our panel for leaders is Erin Scatino. So Erin, over to you. We've just heard some lovely tips of your overseas trip, but tell us a little bit about you.
Thanks, Christina. Back today from a holiday, which has been lovely, but I joined the business just over 12 months ago, actually, and I'm GM of marketing for hardware. Based out of Heatherton in Victoria. I've got a team, quite a broad team or broad remit. We've got our studio, brand, content and PR, digital, loyalty, and comms and events all coming out of my team. And that's a combination of both, on-site, but we also have some offshore resources. So that's an interesting, different element in terms of being able to keep our teams engaged. And I've got a variety of people that have just been with the business to those that have been with us for a long time. And again, coming in fresh, coming in new, particularly to a business unit that has been so encapsulated by change over the last 6 to 12 months. It's been an interesting journey, that's for sure. So I'm looking forward to sharing some thoughts.
Great. We're super excited to hear from you, Erin, because that's a very broad remit, but also a very different employee and team base, which is a great way to talk about how you engage the different teams, not only through the insights you've had, but geographically as well. Ush, if you could just pop on screen. So we've run a couple of these sessions before. This time, for the first time ever this year, we've actually got some of our people and culture business partners with us because they are so integral to this engagement process and have worked so closely with our leaders. So really looking forward to hearing how you partnered. So Ush, maybe you could just say a quick hi and let everybody know who you are and what part of the business you support.
Yeah, thanks, Christina. So my name is Ush. I've been with Metcash for almost 2 years. I'm in the food pillar. I'm one of the business partners in the people and culture team. And I look after 3 of our areas in food. So retail, SBL, Shopper Brand Loyalty, and also the merch team.
Fantastic. Welcome. Michelle W., maybe you could come on screen and tell us a little bit about you and your people and culture role.
Oh, thanks, Christina. So yes, Michelle Westlake. I'm one of the business partners supporting the hardware pillar. I've been with the business too, just coming up 2 years, which has gone quite fast. So the network that I support is our own network. So it's company-owned network. And there's a mixture of Mitre 10 sites, so store-based operations, there's distribution, and there's manufacturing as well. So there's quite a diverse work group that we're working in. And also with some of those groups, some have got more experience than others with engagement surveys. So one of our business units, for example, was their very first experience this year running with the survey. So that's a unique sort of time in itself.
Fantastic, thank you. And Sam Moodley. Sam is also a people and culture business partner in the food team. Maybe you could just give us a couple of insights into your role.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Sam. I similar to Osha and Michelle, I've been here for 2 years, or just going on 2 years. So we're all kind of in the same space. But yeah, I look after the New South Wales State team, the national supply chain, national commercial, and the WA State team as well. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sam. Really glad you joined us today. Now, we've got a few questions that we were going to pick the team panel's brains on, but I just wanted to say this is very much an informal session. The purpose of the session is for us to learn and to really understand what are the things that we could maybe implement in our own teams as we think about engagement and how we work with our teams to understand the insights and make meaningful shift. So please feel free to put your hand up and to ask questions. It's certainly not a formal thing, but I'm going to start by throwing to you, Ida. I wonder if you could just give us a sense of why engagement matters to you as a leader.
Thanks, Christina. With regards to engagement, I look after a total of 41 team members. With customer service and the nature of our work, it can be very challenging at times. Moving into the role, I've just gone over a year in this role, and what I feel is that work will always be there, but it's how we look after our people to continue doing what we do. So that's been the biggest drive in what I've chosen to do as a leader, and then how I engage with my team to make sure that they're included, they feel like they're being heard, and then we're working together towards an action plan.
Thank you, Ida. Paul, if I can throw to you to get your insights, you've been here a long time. You've led various teams. Why does the employee voice matter, and how can it make an impact?
I think, most people have been through leadership training would understand that, you get more buy-in when the team are engaged in whatever you're participating in. And I think the more you can have that level of engagement, and we don't always get it right either. We very much sometimes will deliver what we think is a very simple message, but we don't get the team at all levels of the business to engage in that strategy. And I think that's when you get the best results, is when everyone is sharing the one vision and the one goal. And I think it's really important to get everyone to contribute to that in some way. And it does take time. It's a big investment in time to get to everyone and to get their voice. So, but there are ways to fast track that through, feedback channels and having people communicating up all the time, so you're always getting feedback. So that'd be my piece.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Paul. Michelle P., I might throw over to you on your thoughts on why the employee listening strategy is important and how you use that.
Sure. For me, I think when team members or our people see that, that you're listening to them, it really helps shape not just the change, but it also builds trust and ownership. And I think for me, as we've gone through, in particular with the engagement results, listening to their feedback and listening with intent and acting with purpose just again builds on that trust and that ownership, and they feel like they're part of that journey. They feel like that they can actually help shape where we're going. So I think that's just really important, and as part of this, just creating that right environment where people feel like they can have their voice, that they can, and that they've got the confidence to and the ability to really contribute meaningfully to, what our strategy is and where we're going.
Yeah, I love that about contributing meaningfully and just the building trust, which is so important. Erin, if I throw to you, and I think particularly around the challenge you have of different locations, different geographies, different time zones, how does employee listening play out for you?
Yeah, so I think to everyone's point previously, being able to listen and being able to have our teams trust to be able to share is critical for us. But I think importantly, engagement doesn't live in an annual survey or a survey that we send out once a year. Although it's incredibly important, engagement with our teams needs to happen every single day, every conversation, and that's really hard as a leader. It's hard enough for us to turn up. I'm here day one after a holiday, so I'm pumped and excited, but 3 weeks ago I wasn't. I was tired, and being able to really turn up every day and think about our people and think about giving them the space and the time to be able to share is really critical. So that end of year survey shouldn't be a surprise to us. It should be just a feeling of what happens every day. So it's those little conversations, it's the corridor, and it's the way that we make our people feel that gives them the space to be safe and to want to share. And as I think Michelle said, then actually take action. Really show some clear actions from what is being shared from us, so our teams feel like they're part and they are. They are engaged in the workplace, because ultimately the reason why we do this, our teams that are engaged work better and enjoy coming to work and are much better employees for longer.
Yeah, thank you, Erin. I totally agree with this everyday listening. It's not a moment in time, and it's kind of these employees feeling like you're on the journey with them. So thank you for that. Obviously, this is a process. We roll out a survey, our team members fill it out, you get a report, and that's kind of your first insight. Ida, I might throw back to you, and I'm wondering, Ush, if you can tag team with Ida, but I was just wondering, when you saw your report and you saw your results, what was your initial reaction?
That we had improved. And knowing where we were at one point in time, and then to see that there was a level of improvement, and then to also know there was still room for further improvement. So we know we're not going to change. You can't build Rome in a day. So it was just going to take time, and to know that the team had acknowledged and registered that small incremental changes was vital in our journey. And it was just a testament that we're doing that. We've still got a lot of work to do, but we're all engaged, and we're all committed to creating a better culture within our team and ensuring that we're engaging and collaborating.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd agree with what Ida said. I think also what was really nice to see this year in the comments is we actually had some specific things that the teams wanted us to focus on. So that was really good to really enable us to build a tailored engagement action plan for the customer service team. And one of the things we did that landed really well this year was we set up the listening session with getting the team to all put on some post-its what we have achieved and what we want to celebrate for the year. Because sometimes it's really hard to remember all the good that has happened between the last survey and this year. So I think starting off that session just really kicked off on a positive note, and almost a bit of a celebration of what the last 12 months we have achieved, and then it gets us in the right frame of mind to then go, right, what are we now going to tackle, and what do we want to achieve together?
Yeah. Sam, I noticed you nodding when Ush said celebrating the achievements. I wonder if you could give us some insights on the process that you followed.
Yeah, I think it is really good to look back and reflect, but part of the way we approach it in terms of celebrating but looking forward is being more on the solution. So yes, we've heard you, but what does this mean for you in practice? And also, I guess that sends a message that that everyone has a role to play in engagement. It's not just on the leaders too, but we're building this plan together. And so yes, we need to call out each other and do that as a team, and it's about how we enable that and build the framework or the the way to be able to facilitate that with our teams.
Yeah, love that. I love that sort of creating the safe space. Paul, when you were looking at your results, were there any results that surprised you? And was there anything that challenged any assumptions you'd made?
I think every year there's certain parts once you dig in that surprise you. I think we did a lot of specific work on parts of the business that we could see the results in. And I think the best bit about our results was the fact that 95% of our 260 staff actually engaged to give us feedback on the surveys, I think, which is, I mean, that's the testament to me. We've got to listen then, that's the key. So I think the part for us was really some of the areas we thought we were strong in that we didn't put as much emphasis in what dropped off a bit. So I think there was a lesson there that you got to keep chipping away, and you got to just consider it's a bit of a balancing act right across the board. And you have to do those 1%ers every day, as Aaron was saying, to make sure that you don't, you can't just put focus on the areas you need to improve. You need to balance it out.
Yeah, I think that's a good tip. And I think that's, Ush, what you were referring to earlier in celebrating the successes is you've almost got to kind of keep doing the things that you're doing well, but then also keep an eye on the things that you want to shift. Michelle W., I might throw to you. I'm sort of trying to understand if you can give us some insights on how you shifted some of those participation rates. So Paul obviously talked about, getting the employee voice and people actually participating. But did you have any tips or anything that you did to really encourage people to give their feedback?
I think it's important to reflect on the previous engagement survey and connect actions back to the feedback that we'd already received, and also just giving team members confidence in the way that the survey is managed as well, from a confidentiality point of view, because often that is one of the first sort of concerns that might be raised with sharing their information, and I think just empowering our leaders to really have value in a survey and the results themselves, and for them to believe in it, and to also then encourage their team members to participate, because we need the feedback to be able to either keep doing things right or do things differently.
Yeah, good point. Erin, when you looked at your results and you started to engage your team, how did you prioritize what to focus on?
So it was almost quite clear. So our results were interesting. The things where we were doing really well, we were doing really well. So it was really clear that things that we were doing really well was off scale well, and that the areas where we weren't doing well was almost off the scale the other way. So it was very clear to us. So I mean, the platform and the reports were quite clear in terms of where some of those priority areas were, but it was important that we tested those back with the group. So I brought together any leader in my team. So the leaders that anyone that has somebody reporting to them, we came together as a team, and we worked through the results, and we made sure that we owned the results as a group. So although each one of my leaders might have had different results, better, higher or lower, whatever you want to call it, we owned the marketing results for this business together, and we made it very clear, and we kind of all committed that we are responsible for the overall results of the team, as opposed to just worrying about our own direct reports, and from that, what was really important out of that is that we got some very clear actions. So it wasn't just simply an admin dump. We said, what are the one or two things that we need to do to be able to really push and change the dial? And how are we committing to all of those as a team? And then we assigned some responsibility of that amongst the group. I think Sam said prior, this is not just and I'll quite honestly sit with my team and say, it's not my responsibility to drive engagement. I'm not always going to be at 100 every day. It's up to every one of us, whether it's a leader or one of our team members. It's up to every person in this team to turn up and to engage and to take responsibility for the overall engagement of our team. So we kind of sat and made that commitment. We had the tough conversations, we had the listening sessions, and then we worked together on what are just the one or two things that are really going to make a difference.
Yeah, thank you. Ida, I wonder if I could throw to you. I'm trying to understand, as you sort of debrief your results and engage your team, how did you involve the team in understanding the results?
we had the workshops to be able to identify where we landed. And then because within customer service, we have 6 different teams. So we had individual workshops with each team to be able to unpack it and then to create an action plan, like Erin said, to be able to tackle it as customer service as a whole. As Ush had said, we went through everything well that had happened, all our celebrations, and then we left it to the team to be able to provide what their feedback, what they would like to see us do better. And from that, we then barreled it up into, we have 5 different groups from right across the team to then be able to create our action plan. So, you know, if it was the ways of working, the team's workspace, we were able to break it all up into different buckets, assign a team leader to be able to take charge of that particular action. And then we put it to the customer service team to volunteer to be a champion, to work alongside the team leader or myself to ensure that we're held accountable throughout our engagement process and our action plan, and then to also provide feedback to the team to go, this is what you've said, this is what we're doing, and then to be able to report back, hey, this is what we've done. So to be able to do that as well, we're working on a roadmap. So because with customer service, we work with a lot of systems, we've got a lot of different screens we work on. So to be able to have something physical on the floor to show our engagement journey as we work through those actions.
Thank you.
Just want to add to what I just said. I think what worked really well is really empowering the team leaders, but then also sourcing a champion to assign to one of the work streams, because they're there on the floor. You know, they're the ones that can rally other people, and it drives that engagement, you know, from the bottom up, basically, and really empowers them to step up and own their action plans. And for some of them, it was quite a development opportunity as well to go, you know, I don't normally get an opportunity to do this, so it'd be nice to own it. And then we're also tackling, like, whether it's a weekly or fortnightly or monthly update on the roadmap, whether that's by, you know, an email or just comms that's going out through a weekly meeting, so that everyone's still engaged and they know at what stage of the plan that we're at and it hasn't been forgotten.
Thank you, Ush. Now, we did say this was an informal session and we did invite the audience to put their hands up. So thank you, Emily, for putting your hand up. Over to you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, sorry guys, that was by accident. I accidentally clicked on the
Oh, no,
raise
that's
the hand.
okay. No, absolutely. We thought you might have a question. Well, here's the opportunity. Did you have a question for any of the panel whilst you're on speaker?
No, I just wanted to say thank you so much for everything. It's been quite informative and I've taken notes. But thank you so much for your time today, guys.
Thank you, Emily. And look, that's the purpose of these sessions. You know, I often get leaders calling me going, you know, I need some quick tips. What are other leaders doing? So absolutely, we were very, very brazen when we contacted Paul and Erin and Michelle and Ida to say, this is absolutely about you sharing and the things that worked, because those things are already in place, and we can get other people to really just almost lift and shift them. No shame in that. Michelle P., if I sort of flick back to you as we start to think about action planning and how you prioritize what to focus on, I'm sort of trying to understand what is it that you did to really engage the team in understanding the results and coming to the right action. Erin's talked a little bit about how it's an everyday thing, it's a listening thing. Paul's talked about how he's had to put different strategies in place for different teams and over the years has had to shift. But obviously that differs from team to team. But if you could just give us some insight on the process that you took and the conversations you had in involving the team in understanding the results so they can get to interpretation in a meaningful way.
Sure, Christina. So I might take a step back to our last engagement survey last year, where, similar to what Ida had said, we listened, we had listening sessions with the team, and we defined what our action plan was. And we were really clear on what we heard, or what we believe they said, and then what we were going to do about it. And then, similar to this year, throughout the year, we've actually done check-ins on how we were tracking against our engagement action plan from last year. And this year we slightly evolved it further in that we have a multiple, like 30 people on the team, and a lot of those team members are on the road. And so they're quite isolated, a lot of them. They don't actually get to interact with their peers on a regular basis like a lot of us that are in the office. So we wanted to involve them, and so we had some volunteers within the team put their hand up to lead these small breakout groups at the listening session. And like I said earlier, we wanted to create the environment where people felt comfortable to be able to share their feedback. The richness in the data is really around understanding their feedback, their perspective, and then acting on it, all coming up with solutions like Sam had said. So in those smaller groups, they came up with what they felt were the opportunities, and then more importantly, what the solutions were, because I think, as we've all said, the engagement action plan isn't owned by the leaders, it's owned by all of us, and the success and the shift in culture and engagement will come collectively as a team. So we did those listening sessions, and then as part of that, there were a few themes that did come down from the food pillar. So we saw some consistent themes across the food pillar, and those themes collectively each of the different departments and teams focused on. And whilst the actions below that may have differed across the teams, it was very much around, well, with these three key themes that we're seeing across the data, let's all collectively focus on that. So we did that, and then we also came up with another 2 unique opportunities that the team identified. And then every action within the plan was defined by the team, and that was deliberate because we felt that if they owned it, that is how we're going to build stronger engagement. So the team took ownership. So we had a little engagement team of those volunteers. They took ownership of what that plan looked like and in communicating that plan. So it wasn't a leadership initiative, it was a collective team initiative. So everybody was responsible for driving that engagement. And we've just rolled that out now. So the team have all got visibility of what that plan is. And now we're starting to really rethink how we connect and communicate as a team, and how we collectively keep this engagement action plan alive. And it isn't just a point in time, it's very much around everyday meaningful conversations and how we connect and engage with our team and with our peers and with our leaders to help drive that positive engagement.
Yeah.
I might add to Michelle's point as well. When we went into that workshop, which was really cool, because we kind of tagged that on the back of a 2-day strategy offsite with the team. So it was all in person. And I think that does make a difference too. And where we had those engagement volunteers or champions, we helped them with, I guess, a facilitation guide. So some questions that they could help to guide the conversation to be able to get to a actionable solution under each of those banners. So when we broke up and we broke into those teams, they led those conversations under each of those areas, and those questions were really prompters to keep the conversation on track to keep a solutions focus. So I think in the end it was really good, and everyone felt really invested in it, which is great, because when we played it back to the broader team, there were themes that other teams resonated with, but I guess also keeping it back to what do we do from here? What does this actually mean in action?
Yeah. I wonder, Ush and Sam, whether you could give some insight, because Michelle has just mentioned something that I think is very interesting, and we're seeing across all the pillars, this concept of these common themes that came down across. And so Michelle Pease just talked about the common themes that came down from food, but we also know that each of the trading pillars, so hardware, food and liquor, have got pillar-wide action plans they're working on. And I'm wondering whether if you can give us some insight to Michelle's example, how you identified those common themes that are common pillar-wide, and how you filtered those down so that you're aligning everybody to some common goals.
I think what was really cool from the Culture Amp survey was that that did a lot of the being able to surface what are the common areas. So when we looked at the pillar results, those were things that came through that we could, and as we went through each team, you could see quite clearly that how those kind of contributed to being a common theme. So it was vision and purpose, reward and recognition, and leadership capability that came through for the food pillar. And to Michelle's point, the actions that underpin that for each teams might be slightly different in what that actually means played out. But yeah, I think it was really cool to be able to see that quite immediately after the results came out, and that really helps to shape and guide how we action plan as well.
Yeah, I think
Can
to
I-
Sam's
sorry.
point as
Michelle.
well.
Yeah.
Sorry, Erin. I was going to say to Sam's point, I think having those three cascaded from food as well really gives, the team in food and the employees sort of that structure to go, we hear you. So irrespective of what department you're in, these are the three common things that we want to work on and hopefully be able to lift next year's engagement. But it also allowed us to tailor with, up to 2 other things that potential departments needed as well. So we did have that flex, and we weren't just locked into those 3. We definitely looked at any other areas that we needed to work on. Sorry, Erin.
Yeah, no, not at all. I was just going to add to Sam's point. The Culture platform was great in identifying those themes. But what I would encourage everyone to do is deep dive into the verbatim comments, because the themes are great, but the verbatim comments really helps you to really deeply understand what that theme might mean for your people and for your teams. We had, I'm going to say it was like 13,000 verbatim comments or something, I think, across the group. And that blew me away. As you know, I've been with this business for 12 months, and what that tells me is that our teams are so engaged, and the verbatim comments were just as positive as they were, sharing opportunities or ideas for improvement. So, I think if you didn't spend time in those verbatims, do that, because it will be really uplifting, firstly, because I think our team members are quite happy to tell us when we're doing things really well, but it will also give you the context of those areas for improvement in a deeper way than just the theme level.
Can I add on to that as well, Erin? It's I think it's a wonderful point around those individual comments, and even the next level is getting back to the stores and talking to the individual people about those and digging and understanding them, because I think we're in a relationship business at the end of the day, and engagement is about connection and relationship. And if we're not going to those people and try to find out, that is the opportunity to bridge the engagement and bridge the relationship when we get to these questions that come up. And I think also another one that hasn't been talked about on that side, which is completely different in the spectrum, is when we do see some of this poor culture, as leaders, we've really got to address it. And I think one of the big ones I neglected to talk about at the start around our results was we had 2 stores that dropped us all the way down from probably getting about a 90% to getting about a 67%. And really, we've dealt with those, those issues at a store level, and really some of it is around performance and obviously right person, right spot, but making sure that you're getting it at the root, because really the store managers in our network that are in remote areas in Wagga and in Newcastle and in Canberra, really the engagement improvement has to come from them at a distance. As a leader based out of Newcastle, Sydney, we're not going to make a difference in Wagga necessarily. It's got to come from within. So I think addressing the underlying, some of the poor behaviour really quickly, and make sure there's that behaviour alignment across the Metcash phase is really important.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. And I might sort of just expand on that, and Michelle W, please feel free to tag team with Paul on this one. But with this point, and I think it's an important conversation to have, not all results are rosy, some results are less rosy, and how we lean into it as leaders to really shift, because we want this to be a favorite place to work. But I'm wondering if you can give some insight, Paul and Michelle W, on how you created that safe space for people to speak up, to really dig into what it was that the underlying issues were.
I can go first if you like while I'm still talking, but I guess we've evolved it over time. I think I started at the start, Christine, about we've sort of set platforms, and we've learned from our lessons of how we've tried to engage, and we had up to 350 staff at one point in time. So it was really difficult to get to everyone and to get everyone's point of view. So we've developed Feel Good Friday emails that sort of address our key issues around having people feeding back good news stories from amongst the group, whether they've had a grandchild or whether they've, won a big order. It doesn't really matter. It's a really community-led sort of newsletter that comes in every Friday. But also Peter Werry, I hope he's on the call today. Big shout out to Pete, who's implemented You Said, We Commit, and We Did poster that each group workshops themselves and puts their top 3 objectives on, and then they actually do check-ins to where they're up to on it. And at the end of the year, before the next engagement survey, they present it back to the teams to say, we did it. We committed and we did and also present back all the good things that they've done over the year. I think, I'm not sure who said it before, but there's a bit of a memory loss when it comes to some of the survey time to say, we actually did a heap of stuff, and you guys did a heap of stuff to improve our engagement. Don't forget, you're not just thinking about what happened to you last week. We're talking about a full year. So
Yeah. Michelle, from your perspective as a partner?
Yeah, look, I think it's fair to say for Paul's group, the Hudson Group, they are leading the way with regards to engagement and action planning. I think the other thing, because we work in such dispersed networks, it's not always easy to sort of get face-to-face with all of the leaders. One of the strategies that we used in the last round was taking advantage of a state meeting where all of the store leaders were in the one room, and we went through the feedback for the TEC cohort, I guess, which was those people in the room, and unpacked the results. One of the great things with the Culture Amp portal is that you can generate a standardized PowerPoint presentation that really runs through all of the information that you need, from completion rates to engagement results, strengths and weaknesses, and then the top 3 focus areas. But what we found interesting is if you broke it, you could have a high level of the results, but if you broke it down into TEC cohort versus non-TEC, which in our world is the majority of our workforce, and I think that's the same for everyone. Some of the focus areas were very different. Some were very similar, but some were very different. So we took the approach of workshopping at a leader level to what meant something to them. But then that gave them the tools to then take that back to their sites and ideally do the same thing. So it's about not making assumptions around what those results say or what those focus areas are, and seeking to understand more and then putting action plans around that. And I think, the overarching theme is around not making assumptions and making sure that there are check-ins and tracking progress and making adjustments where we need to.
Yeah. Thank you. Erin, you were nodding as Michelle was just saying about breaking up the workforce and analysing and looking at the focus areas that the Culture Amp platform allowed her to download in the PowerPoint. I'm wondering if you can give us some insight as to any frameworks or tools that you used or found helpful to develop and plan and track actions.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we've touched on it. So the tools that I used to be able to pull everything together was very much the platform was great and gave us a whole lot of information. I am hungry for feedback. It's not something that I just try to get at a survey period. I think that we need to set the tone all year round as leaders that we absolutely desire to hear, listen, and for our teams to provide feedback. But my team probably gets sick of me saying ad nauseum, though, come to me with a solution, come to me with your ideas, not just your feedback. So I think it's actually about encouraging that as well. So what we did, it wasn't just presenting the results, it was ideation sessions. I sat with the team, and what tool did I use? We sat and we ideated. We came up with what can we do differently. And then who is going to take responsibility for that not being a flash in the ocean or a weekly meeting next week? How do we bring that to life regularly and it not just be the responsibility of myself or one or two of the other senior leaders in the team? So they were some tools we put into place. And then I think it's the visibility of our commitments as well. I think might have been Michelle, I can't remember who said it, but we made a very clear commitment as to what we would do, and we made that visible, so it wasn't just a discussion point behind doors. We made that visible. We committed to that through written documents to say this is what we'll work on, and then we continue to review and just test ourselves every time we get together. How are we doing on that? How, you know, is that something that we have committed to and we've continued with, or have we let it fall off? Because, you know, I think that's, again, that consistency is important. And that is having, you know, fewer initiatives, fewer ideas, but doing them consistently all year. But checking in, so to Paul's point, in 12 months' time when we do it again, that, you know, we have checked back in and we're all on the same page, that we have moved the dial.
Thank you. Ida, I might just pick up. I was interested earlier when you said it was obviously heartwarming to see that your results had shifted. But I'm interested to know, how did you as a leader balance quick wins to longer term wins when you start to think about shifting your results?
So from our workshops, when we took back all the feedback from the team, we were able to break everything up into buckets and then identify, you know, from there with our team leaders and who was looking after each action and what the quick wins in each bucket would be, and then how we would go ahead and do that, liaising with Ush as well, supporting in how we make that happen, what we do with the feedback, and then how we play that back to the team.
Thank you. Michelle, I wonder if you could tag team onto that, just about any tips or tricks that you have around quick wins versus the longer term gains, and anything that the leaders on the call might be able to think about in their own teams.
Are you talking me or the other Michelle?
Oh, Michelle P. Yes, thank you.
That's good. Look, I think it's really identifying what some of the immediate actions could be that will help build some momentum and demonstrate that responsiveness. And part of the feedback we got, which was quite surprising, but then once we got into the commentary and understood it better from the team, was really around leadership visibility in stores, as an example. And they, you know, our team, like I said, is on the road a lot. So they wanted that support from their leader in terms of having some of the tough conversations with their customers and or just recognizing some of the great stuff that they're doing. So I think just that leadership visibility in stores and recognizing the team contributions more consistently just reinforces trust and engagement early on. So I think that's just some of the quick wins that we can do, and ensuring that our leaders and our leadership team within Huntingwood here is spending more time with our team out in store. But then I also think as part of that, it's really helping our team, what for me was actually, maybe our team doesn't fully understand the scope of what our leaders do behind the scenes. So it really highlights an opportunity for us to build that understanding and better communicate the value of the leadership activities and what we do. So, and how we can leverage some forums that we have throughout the year to be able to connect with our customers and our team, rather than just in-store visits. So I think that there's some of the quick wins that we can do. And then I think just longer term, it's thinking about, okay, what does that action plan look like? And one of the things that the team has identified is just pulse checks or pulse surveys along the way. So just to check in and get some of that live commentary on where the opportunities are. And I think, you know, everybody's touched on it today, is the commentary that is in Culture Amp is brilliant. And I think that reinforces what you're doing well and how you can continue to amplify that. And then secondly, where some of the opportunities are. So equally, if we can have some of those pulse checks along the way, then that's actually going to ensure that we stay focused and we're on the right track to delivering against that engagement action plan.
Yeah. Michelle, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to add to Michelle's point, and a point that Erin made earlier as well, that I guess when we're action planning, sometimes it can get easy to get caught in a number of different actions to do, and sometimes that is maybe unreasonable to be able to actually achieve. So you're not setting yourself up for it, but doing fewer actions but doing consistently, and based on, I guess, the feedback from the team on what that actually looks like, makes such a huge difference. And I think to Paul's point earlier, where he talked about you said, and this is what we've done. I think that's so critical when we are doing this, because sometimes, again, when you're completing the survey, it can be very much a point in time versus really looking back and reflecting. These are the things that we have done as well, and let's continue this momentum moving forward too.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. It's such an important point for us as leaders to think about, is to keep this conversation alive. I think Erin mentioned it early on in the panel discussion. It's not a one-off, and so it's just being mindful. And thank you, Paul, for love the build on. So we've shared some posters with the teams on You Said We Did, but I love the build of You Said We Committed and We Did. So almost like a three-step. I will reshare the posters in the chat at the end of this session for those of you that haven't had an opportunity to use them. And any builds that you've got like that, absolutely share, because we'd love to share it more broadly with the other leaders. But I love that connection that you're making for people, where they are seeing that the feedback they've given as part of the survey, you're acting on. And so you're making that linkage for them. The other thing I wanted to mention just briefly is Culture Amp have just released a pulsing technology in the platform. It's live, so where you go in and create action, you'll see a line down vertically, and the second dot is share feedback. You can click on share feedback and it'll send your teams 2 questions to check in on how you're doing on your actions and give you feedback. So it's brand new technology. The business partners have had some training on it. Please use it, test it. We want to see how it's going, but you can use it at any time, as often as you like, to check in. At the moment, the questions are preset. We can't edit them, but we will continue to work with Culture Amp to build that functionality. So love that feedback point. Paul, I wanted to come back to you just about on action planning and the impacts and the outcomes. I'm wondering if you can share with us if you've seen any shifts in behaviour in team culture or performance since implementing the changes, particularly as you looked at having some disparate results across groups.
But absolutely. I think some have actually surprised us where the results have come from, just from simple things like, again, having people sharing that they're a bigger part of the group rather than being more organised. It's actually come from teams suggesting that we should have a crack at a different engagement communication, and we just give it a go, and it actually gets better results than what we thought we were pushing down, probably from a more central level. So I think some of the stuff is just listening to your team and sort of building it organically to what the team are looking for at times, rather than strategically going into it. But so other things are a little bit more structured, where we either may do it and we don't talk about it enough, or sometimes we talk about it and don't do it enough. So I think there's a bit there. In some years, you just got to suck it up and go, we need to get better at this, and we need to go and put a heap of work in, and then go back to our teams and demonstrate that we did it.
Yeah. Ida, I'm wondering if you can give us some insight onto a similar topic, just how you've seen a shift in results and culture. You've obviously had a positive shift in your results. So wondering how you and Ush have partnered to kind of go, these are the things we've seen, and this is the things that we think we've seen that have created that impact.
Thanks, Christina. The biggest thing that we have seen, and that's on the back of the engagement results from last year compared to this year. When we've had the engagement sessions, the feedback has been fantastic. And so we noticed the difference where we had gotten together last year, kind of had the same discussions, although the team weren't as open with regards to the feedback. This year we've seen a huge change in the fact that we know that they're comfortable, and number one is they realise that they're being heard and that we're listening, to then be able to be open and honest with what they think we can do better, and then how we then take what they've said and we put it into action.
Thank you.
I just
Also
want to
wondering,
shout out
yes.
Ida as well, actually. I think she hasn't given herself enough credit for the lift in the survey results, being a new leader in that team and really investing the time to care and listen. But then she's also followed through, and made those changes. So Ida, I think, yeah, there's credit that's due to you that, we should all give you. So well done.
Thank you, Ush. What a great call out. Absolutely, Ida. I'm wondering if I can just stay on that topic a little bit, both Ida and Ush, and just pick your brains a little bit more about this concept of psychological safety that's coming through and people feeling like they can give the feedback and be more open. I wonder if you could just talk to us a little bit more about that and how we might think about implementing some of those strategies in our own teams.
Yeah, I think I can speak to definitely NCS. And last year when we did the listening sessions, we actually didn't have the team leaders in the room. And we just wanted to really hear from the teams. And this year I sort of challenged the team leaders to go, no, I want you guys in the room. So you can actually take notes, you can listen, you don't have to speak, but you're there. So it's just reinforcing and building that psychological safety and building that trust between the teams and the team leaders. So this year was a definite shift, and it went down really well. And it shows the team leaders that we're really supporting them in their development to be part of the process and involving them. And I think also with psychological safety, I think it goes back to what Erin or Michelle said, is that it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. It's those small conversations, it's being present, it's listening, it's actually having that care factor and going above and beyond when things come up and taking the time to address them. And then you'll notice that over time, you know, you've got some runs on the board and you've built that psychological safety and trust.
Thank you. Everybody's nodding in agreement, Ush, so great tips. And I think, really some practical stuff that our leaders can think about. I'm getting such a common theme of this continuous listening and staying really connected to the teams, but also being open to the feedback. So it's interesting themes coming through. I'm conscious we've got 7 minutes left. I've got a couple of things, and what I want to do is go around the panel on the same question. But Michelle P., maybe we can start with you, and I'll go to each member of the panel. But I'm wondering how you think as a leader about keeping the momentum going beyond the action planning.
Keeping the momentum? Well, I think part of it is, again, everyday conversations and genuinely involving your team. So I think for engagement to be meaningful, the actions first and foremost need to reflect what matters most to them. But then second to that, you just need to keep it alive with those corridor conversations or those check-ins or those impromptu, pick up the phone on the fly and check in with the team. I think that's really important. And then those pulse checks throughout, I think, will also help just give an understanding as to how you're tracking and whether you're on the right track or what needs to evolve. Because in some cases, you may need to evolve the plan along the way. What you may have started with may not be what you finish with. So I think, to your point before, if you are open to new ideas and feedback and you create the environment where you are not defensive or overly protective of your own views, and you help the team shape the plan, and you create that space, then that will drive real progress.
Yeah, thank you. Ush, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think Michelle just took the words out of my mouth at the end. I was going to say that it's okay to adapt and change as well, as the needs go on. And then one thing that we've done in the retail team is add it to our leadership team agenda. And we actually just got a note now. So tomorrow we've got 3 of the leaders presenting their plans and a bit of an update. So I think just keeping it live at the leadership team level as well just keeps us accountable as to what's happening. And then, the onus is on them to cascade it down as well.
Yeah, love that. Erin, I wonder if we could pick your brains a little bit about how you're keeping the momentum going.
So I think, Michelle talked about it. It's getting regular cadence. So it's, having just regular, whether it's team get-togethers, meetings, opportunities for teams to talk. I make sure that all of my teams have an opportunity to meet with me every, couple of times a year, not just their own leaders. But ultimately, I think it's really simple. I think as a leader, we just need to care. We just absolutely just need to care about our people and demonstrate that every day, because we can do all the admin and we can do all the action planning and all of that's really important. But ultimately, our people will feel will know how we make them feel, and if they know that we care when there's the tough days, we care when there was the good days. I do really think it's ultimately that simple, but it's what you do every single day, and not just at the big moments. So yeah.
Ida, over to you on your tips for leaders on how you keep the momentum going.
Just like Michelle and Erin have said, is make it a part of your everyday. Always, you live and breathe it. You show up for your team. You have those conversations. With my team, I tell them that, we're a work family because we spend a lot of time at work. So I consider myself as their work mum. And then, with that, I tell them there are times where, we're not going to see eye to eye with everything, but being able to come together and have those conversations like family do, and then nut it out, and then what are we going to do moving forward, is really important. And I have a very open door policy with my team, and to show them that I care, and that, we come to work, we do what we do every day, but behind all of that, we're all individuals, and we're all made up differently. And because of that, that makes us unique. So knowing that about your team and really accepting that and working with that is really important.
Thank you. Paul, over to you. How you maintain this momentum beyond the action planning process?
Well, firstly, I think the other guys have really summed it up. I mean, it really is a personal thing, right? And making sure that you've got a personal connection with your team is genuine. I think we the big moment that I sort of really got me was when we were doing Are You OK Day, and one of our team members came up to us and said, "You guys actually really mean it. It wasn't just let's have a breakfast and put some stickers on," and we actually genuinely asked everyone how they're going and genuinely wanted to know and genuinely wanted to help afterwards as well, I think. And that was all came out of a lot of things, been able to do that in mental health training and a few things as well. But we genuinely, having that genuine care is definitely there. But there's also some strategic stuff you can do. Again, skilling up your managers and your leaders, making sure that they are armed with the skill set to be able to apply engagement in their own store and apply that kind of leadership to have high-level conversations, to be able to have brave conversations as well as having empathetic conversations. There are training that you can do to skill your team and also sharpen the pencil yourself. So certainly that's an important part to make sure that you're always doing that and always exposing your teams to different exposing different pillar teams to each other as well, to make sure that the engagement is not just pillar orientated, because again, if you like our business where you've got manufacturing and DCs and retail stores, and people can feel isolated very quickly, particularly smaller teams that are marginal teams. So getting those guys to feel like they're part of the broader team and massaging that communication so that every feel good, there's a different group in there or a different role that's explain what they do, so that everyone is feeling a bigger part, a part of the larger picture is really important.
Thank you. We're at 4:29. I'm conscious of time. I just wanted to say a very big thank you to Paul Whitaker, Ida Filipina, Erin Scatino, Michelle Pellizzari, Ush Danak, Sam Moodley, and Michelle Westlake. We have really appreciated your time. It's been an honor and a privilege, and thank you for giving up the time. I'm going to very cheekily say to the leaders on the team that if they want to call at any time after this Q&A panel, that they could reach out to any of us and make the time available. But we'd love to continue the conversation. It's been really insightful. I think about, the words of looking after our people, building trust, building ownership. This is not a single once everyday thing. This is a continuous process, owning our results, assigning action plans, having culture champions. I've written lots and lots of notes for cheat sheets, which we'll build on. So a big thank you. And a big thank you this year to all of our people and culture business partners who joined us, because it's such an integral partnership and relationship in how we get to an outcome. So thank you for sharing. And again, I will very cheekily say that any leader can reach out and maybe pick your brains on tips and tricks. I have put in the chat some of the more recent posters. You've got the first lot of posters that you would have got with the communication, but I've also done a quick reference guide on the pulse checking. Please let us know how the functionality is going. Culture Ramp are very open to our feedback, so I'd love to keep feeding the loop and letting them know. But a big thank you to everybody, and I wish everybody a great afternoon and a very, very productive engagement outcome going forward.
Thanks, Christina.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, team.
Christina.
Good chatting to you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.